I'd love for you to just kick off and just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of a little bit about the business and kind of where you came from.
Yep. Originally, in my mid-20s, owned and operated a lot of franchises. So I started off with Subway. We were number 21 in the country at the time. Had a few Subway franchises, 5 in the end. So we bought and sold those. It was great because we got exposure to good systems. So we never really had an idea of business at the age of 25. You want to do it, but you don't know what you're doing. So from there, we branched into a Nando's franchise. So we were the first franchisee in South Australia.
I used to work at Nando's.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
It's funny.
I was a griller. I was.
Well,
and that was hideous. My clothes, I swear to God, my clothes after every shift, I almost had to throw them away. They were hideous.
Well, the funny thing is, we bought it because we come over here to Melbourne to visit Melbourne, which we do a couple of times a year. And that sort of gave us a bit of exposure to the coffee life in Melbourne. It wasn't quite the same in South Australia. And we love Nando's. We thought, we've got to have that in South Australia. But initially it didn't quite work that well because in South Australia they've got charcoal chicken places everywhere. And I remember when we first started and you'd have a very small packet of chips and a very small chicken and it would be $10.
It's a very different price point than charcoal chicken.
And we get families come in and go, for $2 we get this much chips wrapped around in paper and for another $8 we get a full chicken. And
look, I love charcoal chicken. It's brilliant. But having worked at Nando's, when you know what to order from Nando's, it just doesn't compare. It's brilliant.
It is beautiful. And then we had the first Boost Juice in the country from Janine Ellis.
Oh, really?
So, Boost Juice started in South Australia.
Oh, so
she's a Melbourne.
Well, wait. So you had the first
franchise.
Jesus.
Yeah. So we did that.
Did that kick off straight away?
Yeah. So the first one was 81 King William Street, and everyone's thinking, what's this? This is shakes and grinders going berserk, and they used to have good-looking crews, and it was very pumpy, and the music was going crazy, and everyone.
It was unique. It was new. It really was at that time.
But the colours, and it was all. Everything was very corporate and very plain, and then Boost Juice hit the scene, and it grabbed our attention because we were involved in franchising. And it's one of those things when you're in franchising, you're looking at other franchises going, geez, I want to be a part of it. Can I make money? Is it new? What's the longevity? How long is it going to last for? And that was her first store. So there was a bit of sentimental to Janine. And so it was kind of nice that we were the first franchisee. And so from that, we learned quite a bit of 3 different systems. 3 very, very different franchises. One that was very mature, being Subway. One that was definitely in its infancy, having their first franchisee, and one that was a little bit more international, given that it started, I think, in South Africa.
It did. And once they were all mature, I guess, call it 3 or 4 or 5 years down the track from when they commenced, obviously Boost Juice being the most recent.
Yep.
Which one had the best systems out of all 3?
Oh, they all had different systems, and I think from that we were able to learn. Which is what we've applied in our factory now. You come into our factory, it's clean. A lot of our new branding, which we'll probably get into later, is based on franchise concepts that I've seen, and sort of some creative juices that we add to that for our own individual flair. But they've all got great systems. I really, really, really like the Subway systems though, right? Because it made you and your staff very accountable for every single bit of ingredients that goes into everything. So you knew if your staff were using too much lettuce, too much onion. There's formulas. So it's a really, really good way of saying, we're going to teach you about food costs without necessarily telling you that you're actually learning about food costs.
Yeah.
It's practically happening, and you can see whether or not, they're throwing out, 20 kilos of lettuce every week.
The staff don't actually have to learn about food costs. They just learn the system.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And the weights and the measures. They actually don't need to understand the economics of it.
No.
They need to understand, what do I do now? What does the book say?
Yeah, well, so if it says, a footlong has 6 olives, and you walk past and you see your staff just throwing in 36 olives, you cringe.
Which I always encourage. As a customer.
Hang on a minute. As a customer,
I just say load them up.
And if you didn't like someone, you'd put 15 jalapenos on there. So even though the formula says only put 3.
I hate it when they skimp on the lettuce. Oh, it's fucking infuriating.
There's Jimmy again, that arsehole customer who's getting 15 jalapenos.
Exactly.